You work? Yeah. All right, hey guys. I know we're a couple 2 minutes late. I was actually downstairs at the March for Palestine march that was finally held after being denied permission to protest peacefully twice by the previous Minister of Justice. They received that permission, and today they held that manifestation. I was waiting for them to get closer to Parliament so that I could go down. So they were in front of the courthouse. I saw on Facebook Live, so I went down to show my support with them, because it is something I think that we, as St. Martin, do have to pay attention to. At the end of the day, we have many persons here who you may not know are Palestinian, but I think if you don't know, it's usually because they maybe ran from their country at a very young age, once the occupation of their country started. And many of them you would not even know. I saw some persons reacting and they were like, "Oh, they're from Palestine." I'm like, "Yes, they are Palestinian." So I think to show that support to them, shout out to Shamiran and the rest of them that I saw down there. So much strength to you all as you continue with your steps that you're taking for this very urgent humanitarian crisis, and not just, of course, Palestine, but Sudan, the Congo, and all other places that are currently facing this type of displacement and essentially genocide on a very large scale. Today we are going to discuss just a couple things. I have with me in the studio Rosalinda Martina, our contestant number no. Our PFP candidate number 8 from, but she's not a candidate today. She's here to tell me about her experiences with Dutch Caribbean Heritage Week. I saw you were bebopping all over. I saw you had a harrowing boat ride from Stacia.
Yes. It's
So,
ridiculous.
yeah,
But
so
the
if you
captain
want to
was awesome.
tell us a bit about that. What was it, first of all? Because I know a lot of people maybe were seeing the post but didn't really know what was Dutch Caribbean Heritage Week.
Well, hi everybody. First off, I'd like to say Happy Mother's Day to all our mothers
Yes!
out there.
Happy Mother's Day!
Yes, even the mothers of the fur babies, right, Melissa?
Yes. Happy Mother's Day.
Yes. So there was the conference for Dutch Caribbean Heritage Platform. They held the conference this year in Saba, Stacia, and St. Martin. It was from May the 5th until the 9th. And basically, it was to bring awareness of the history and culture within the islands and how to preserve it. So it was very eye opening in Saba and Stacia to see how they were preserving their culture. Yes. And our tour guide was very knowledgeable. They had artifacts to show us, places. It was very nice. And hoping now to bring some of that here to see how we can do more to preserve our culture and heritage here, because it seems as though it's an afterthought. And I know the young man from here, Jean-Marc Augustin, he's very passionate about culture here. So he was really distraught, I would say, to see how, he was happy to see how they're preserving it over there, but we also want to be able to bring it home. So gotta decide on how we're gonna go about that.
Do that, No, it does, like, and you're saying something that that I also said after we visited Stacia for Stacia Day, not last year, but the 2022, I believe. Yeah. And basically it was the same feeling for me, like, but it hasn't always been. I didn't need to go to Stacia to feel that, because if you've ever like gone to like Kura Holanda in Curacao, their Tula Memorial, they also took those steps, and my mother from Aruba. Aruba also has, I think, 2-3 museums, protected areas, and their heritage. And what I what I've been saying since Stacia, and what I also said, like in the light of the situation that's been happening on the French side, is that in other countries, not only bigger countries but smaller countries too, you'll see like if a private family owns a piece of land or whatever that has like a monument or like a a heritage site on it or so, they tend to donate it to the country, and then let the country manage it, and then also you get in tourism dollars from that being there. And I think here we maybe haven't done that. We haven't done that exercise. It's kind of just if you want to build something, you build something. You build around it, you tear it down, you move it. Yeah.
And they said that at DV they were supposed to, restore it, keep it up to date, but it's over there in shambles and
Yeah.
it's not being looked at. The same with the Simpson Bay Bridge. It went viral the other day, yeah, but if you look at the state of it, it's
Yeah.
like how precious did you think it was beforehand?
Yeah.
There's no care.
Yeah.
So, and people are getting tired of just coming to see buildings. If I leave buildings in America or in Europe, and I don't want to come here to see buildings again. I want to go to the beach. I want to see what you have to offer. I want to know the history of the island.
Want to see some green.
Yes.
Yeah.
But we're so unconcerned. It's just about the dollars, and the dollars is just not what our heritage is getting lost.
Yeah.
And it's sad to see. So we have to do something because it's almost gone.
Yeah.
It's
No,
almost gone.
but I'm glad you got an opportunity to go and see what what is there, and yeah, and learn about how maybe we can save what is left, I guess. So you guys started, it was just St. Martin's, Saba, Stacia.
Yes, we started in St. Martin,
Yeah.
and then one day in Saba, one day in Stacia, and then came back to St. Martin on that very rainy day. Woof.
On the
And
boat.
on the boat.
On the Makana?
On the Makana.
Ooh.
Yeah.
But that's
rough.
a pretty smooth ride, even when it's rough.
It was bad. And then on Thursday, we ended here at DV, and yeah, it was good.
Any sports? Because I saw you looking quite athletic. Would they make you climb the quill with the quill?
No, it was hiking. And
they make you hike the quill?
No.
On scenery?
I did not choose that. I chose the bus tour and walking to the synagogue.
All right, girl.
So that's all I did. No. And when we went to DV, the museum,
yeah,
the underwater museum,
they
didn't want the guests to swim out to the museum. They wanted them to go on a boat.
Yeah, to pay.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's right there. They could have swam.
Yeah.
These are tourists. They're not from here.
So actually, I don't know if you remember, but like during budget, and Peter Weaver brought that up where she said, persons that she knows were on their boat and they were swimming to go to the underwater statues and stuff. And a boat pulled up from the shoreline and said, "Oh, you can't do that. You got to pay $10." And she was like, "I'm on a boat." Like,
exactly.
And it became a big discussion. So I'm hoping that this new government can shed some light on what exactly was done with that, because I find it's just a patch of
you can literally see it from the shoreline.
Yeah,
it's right there.
I've gone because sometimes I captain for Nature Foundation, so nobody stopped me because there was nobody in sight when we went, and I went under and such, and it's not only are you now asked to pay just to go there, but like your the things are already kind of falling apart, the statues. So there's already some deterioration in the materials. We don't know what if that's going to do any damage or anything like that. So it remains to be seen what impact that's going to have. But okay, so they were trying to tell them get on a boat but you could swim.
Yeah, exactly.
It's really not that far out.
We didn't do that again. So our lovely guests did not get to see that at the time, because that's not what they said beforehand. There's one thing on the phone, and then when you reach there,
there's another. Wow.
So yeah.
Okay.
But, and the conference was held already in Curacao and Aruba, so they already got to experience that. So I know in Aruba they're restoring old buildings,
yes,
but
they're
they
doing
can't
their best.
change the outside, which I thought was very cool. They can't change the outside, but the inside, and they're renting it, bringing fun.
Yeah.
We can do that.
They did that with the courthouse here. So like the inside they have to reinforce, etc., but the outside facade has to remain what it is. Because at the end of the day, it's a monument, so it has to remain what it is. Even so, if you see those pictures of us like in the 50s and 60s, like it looks pretty much the same. Yeah. Okay, that's nice. And it was so basically speakers from the Netherlands, I assume, and from the other islands as well. Yeah. Good stuff. What was your favorite part?
My favorite part was Stacia. I really liked Stacia. They were very welcoming, and I appreciated that part.
Yeah.
was good.
Station's quite nice now.
It is.
It would be. It's surprising, but I do enjoy it.
It is. And I scheduled a tour
Mm-hmm.
for St. Martin. So all of the monuments and stuff that we can't see, the landmarks we can't see, go take a look, document it. You're welcome to join us.
Okay. Okay.
So to get more knowledgeable before
Yeah.
I start the process on some people.
So you just scheduled a random tour.
Yeah.
Okay.
Again, John Mark is very knowledgeable. He knows where all of them are. He
Yeah.
has pictures. So
When are you going? Because I'll go.
at the
'cause-
end of the month,
I'm sure.
the
Let me know.
something.
Hit me with the beats. I'll go. I'll go. So that's good. I'm glad that you got to participate, and I think Nelly joined a couple.
Yes,
yeah,
he
a couple
did.
nights as well, right? Nice.
did.
Yeah. Every pan knock for a heritage
They
thing he did.
they love Nelly's African wear. They wanted to see where he got that from. He looks like culture.
Yeah.
That's-
Tagline for the
yeah.
next election.
It's true, yeah.
Yeah. No, that's good. I was happy to see that. Yeah, and I also had discussions with persons who are dealing with the National Slavery Museum that's coming in Amsterdam, and they're trying to get all the islands to also give their input and such. And they did a presentation last year, the year before, by the Cultural Center, and that's where most people saw, oh, so the other islands have done something. Because I think too, a lot of times when you hear some person speak in a community, they kind of like blame the Dutch for not having our heritage and our culture preserved, but
Mhm.
all 6 islands share that same history, but five of them have managed to preserve
But
it, and
with Aruba found information.
Yes.
And they shared it. They forgot his name, but he came with a stick and he shared the information with Saba Station.
Yep.
So he's sharing. So they didn't
Yeah.
find it and keep it to themselves.
Yeah,
They're
yeah.
also giving it to the island so they can carry it on as well. So I
Okay.
found that was very cool.
That's really cool. And then the last thing I want to talk to you about a bit, because you mentioned it a lot during the last campaign. Indeed, when we talk and such, because as an educator, you're pretty passionate about kids. Is the situation that's happening in the foster home right now in Mary's Fancy, the Benjamin's home. So essentially, what happened is that their neighbor is currently building, and they excavated under her boundary line. So what that's causing is that her porch, I believe, right now has already sank like a centimeter, and will continue to do so and face that further deterioration because it's literally digging up. And why is that happening? Well, because the neighbor decided, I got this permit that says I have to do this, but I'm gonna do this instead. I do know that VRAMI inspectors were sent, but they continued building. So I think it's now to find what is there in the law that can actually force a stop. And I mean, I get pretty radical. For me, is if you don't listen the first time, the second time I'll come with a backhoe. But that's me. I don't know if that's the law allows that, but that's me. But no, it's very critical because as they do repairs to the home, as you may know, they have to vacate the home. So we have there's Mrs. Benjamin and there's her helpers, and then there's 19 kids. So it's about 23 people, and there's no real like plan, I guess, on And I just wanted to see like what you thought about that, felt about that, in terms of like encouraging people to become fosters, even to maybe alleviate the strain on this one, because 19 kids is a lot of kids still.
It is a lot of kids.
Yeah, as a teacher, you would know.
To become foster, you really gotta be vetted. I would hope that more people step forward. It's a great thing to do for the community because it's necessary. We only have that one big one. It would be nicer to have smaller ones. It's closer knit with the children. It's not so big. It's a lot of children. It's a lot to deal with. So it's smaller, more compact. They get more time, and I think it would be better overall. So it would be nice to break that up.
Yeah.
But right now, I saw that Minister Lewis was looking into a place to have them housed.
Yeah, I saw that
repair.
Trying to find an option, I think. And why I say, is we have to come to a point where we start encouraging people to maybe look into this. It's because we lost the home in Dutch Quarter when Ms. Gibbs passed away because her son, I believe, or her children decided not to continue it on as a foster home. and you don't have many others. That I know on the French side there are programs, there's training and such, and I know that they've started that here as well to kind of train people how to be foster parents and prepare them for that responsibility. But to definitely encourage people, because yeah, I'm thinking, where do you put, and who pays for that, by the way? Does the country pay for that, or does the person who caused the need for the repairs pay for that?
Unlikely. I'm just we can hope.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I agree. Well, okay. All right. Well, that's all I want to talk to you about. And then you got to get back to your Mother's Day.
yeah.
So, Rose is going to exit stage right. Yeah. Well, give me my mic first. Sorry.
I have your mic.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye. I'm going to mute for 2 minutes while I walk around. And we're back. Whew, it's a lot of stairs. All right. So that was Rosa joining us very briefly, because I realize it is Mother's Day. So just wanted to give the opportunity to share with you guys about the Dutch Caribbean Heritage Week, and yeah, kind of talk about that unfortunate situation happening in Mary's Fancy. There's a lot of stairs in Parliament. But yeah, now to the regular programming. As you all know, we had a meeting of Parliament Monday. The meeting to approve the credentials for incoming MPs Viren Kutai and Richnel Bruch. Sorry, my charger's giving me a okay. And Richnel Bruch. And during that meeting, I think it's been talked to death, but they're gonna keep talking it to death, so why not? The opposition MPs walked out. Now, of course, every MP is not necessarily obligated to, well, no, you are kind of, to give quorum to ensure that the business of Parliament can function. And when I say the business of Parliament, I mean, like I explained on Lady Grace on last week, I mean the regular functioning of Parliament. So we all have heard how you can play politics with quorum when it comes to certain meetings. We ourselves as PFP was disconnected from a virtual Parliament meeting that was dealing with the airport. So the CEO of the airport, Brian Mingo, was basically under fire. It was almost like a character assassination by then coalition MPs. And yeah, MP Peterson and I, former MP Peterson and I, said, this is not what Parliament is meant for. It's not meant to drag Samantas, by their ears or their hair across the floor of the people's house. So we took that decision then when we realized that if we left, there would be no quorum. We wanted to kind of end that very slanderous meeting and just ixnay out of it. That was politics. That was a regular meeting of Parliament. It was not a meeting pertaining to a law or anything like that. So we made that decision consciously as a faction. We're not really disrupting any normal flow of parliament. When it has come to budget, we've given quorum in the past. When it has come to even credentials, actually, we've given quorum in the past. And of course, the just little things, annual accounts. You even saw where they had that opportunity where I could have played politics because there were only 5 coalition members. There were 4 coalition members in parliament, and I think it was 6 of us from opposition. And the annual accounts were up for approval. And when it came down to the vote, I realized, most of opposition was going to vote no. And I essentially decided at the last minute to vote yes, because I saw that if I had voted along with opposition and I hadn't voted yes with coalition, that the law would have had to go all the way back through the legislative process. I see my connection is a little wonky, so trying to manage that a bit for you guys. So yeah, so basically I saw that, we were having an issue where we would have had to waste civil servants' time with doing that law. Now, right now, the voting bureau put together everything needed for the credentials, etc. And now members of the opposition are essentially wasting their time because they walked out of the meeting Monday. Well, first of all, they didn't show up to the meeting last week, Thursday. They walked out of the meeting Monday after showing up late for the first one, and then sent a letter to ask to have the meeting urgently on Friday. Now, could that meeting have happened? No. I know there's been a lot said on the radio about we could have just picked up anybody from the street, any lawyer or whatever, and make them a free fear. But the reality is that our SG, the Secretary General of Parliament, which we require for a meeting, is off island as well. So, and not that he was just picked up and carried off like he was kidnapped by the chair lady, but basically that is travel that some of the people saying that exact thing were present for the discussion and faction leaders representing their faction, and for the agreement, the vote basically in the meeting to approve that travel. So yeah, so it was a little confusing to me when Monday rolled around, and this was still the attitude that we were being faced with. But nevertheless, I believe that after the other folks who are traveling on today and Monday to Brazil for Parlatino, when they return, the meeting will be recalled, and hoping that we've all put on our adult pairs of underwear and that we're able to confirm the credentials and swear in Mr. Kotai and Mr. Bruch and get Parliament back to its full complement of 15 members, because that is essentially the constitution that we're playing games with right now, and I don't like to do that. I try not to. We all swear to uphold it, so let's do that. Also this week, it came out and was also discussed by myself on Grace that how you call it, the governor has not yet sent the LBAs, the national decrees, the Landsbesluiten, concerning the appointment of Minister of Rami and Minister of ECYS up to the Netherlands, to the king. Curious, because as per the Reglement Gouverneur, the regulation of the governor, those are the only options he has: sign or send. I feel like I have to make a placard with a hashtag, sign or send, and match on Haberview, but maybe. But basically, I just wanted to just touch on that a bit. So you can read that article in the paper. You can also check out on our YouTube channel my interview on Lady Grace, where I go in depth into that particular scenario, because that article dropped literally the day that I was appearing on Grace that morning. And tomorrow, I will be on the Super Duper Morning Show to talk about it for a bit in brief. But yes, that's basically where we're at. The LBAs have not been sent, which is a concern for me. A concern because you have now a scenario where the governor is outside of his regulation, and as a coalition now we have to take a decision on how we move forward with that. And I also mentioned on Grace that Article 25 of the Reglement Gouverneur talks about the type of penalties that he can face for not moving to according to his regulation that governs him, the governor. So yeah, so we will see what this week brings. Tomorrow is Monday, um, fresh week coming up, and we'll see what it brings. But I'm not particularly yeah going to get very. I'm optimistic that he will have seen the error of his ways. I think, and move forward with sending them to the Netherlands. At this point, for me, it's follow your process and follow your procedure. That's really what it is. I think to myself and to everyone else that I've spoken to and that I've encountered, it's basically like let's not play politics with this. It's literally the formation of our local government. So let's try to, keep it going. In the news, of course, last week it was quite a lot going on, guys. It's been a time. Let me just put it like that. So from Friday to Saturday, when I was checking that particular Daily Herald issue, there has been analysis done by Nature Foundation, the health of our reefs and such. They surveyed, of course, 7 reefs surrounding us: Long Bay, Moonscape, Fishbowl, Shark Hotel. I've captained for them when we've had to go replace buoys at Shark Hotel. It's been fun. It's been interesting. But yeah, we're not doing well, guys. We're not doing well at all. From even just the seabed, seagrass and such, we don't see what we should be seeing. When the cameras drop, then we take a gander at what's under the waves. And I think kind of like what we were talking about when Rosalinda was here. I don't know if it's that we have to quantify for people what it's worth to have healthy reefs. I know that Nature Foundation, when Tatio was there, they did a what is a live shark worth kind of quantification of that to deter fishermen, especially on the French side, from fishing, specifically targeting tiger sharks and so forth for their catch. And at the time, they were catching pure pregnant tiger sharks, which of course diminishes the population and leads to diminishing of the health of your reef, etc. Sharks signal good reef health. So it was a little concerning for me to see that report on our reef health status. Did not like to see that at all. So I think there's a lot that needs to be done and addressed, and maybe we have to quantify how much, again, does a live shark cost? What does a healthy reef bring in terms of dollars, tourism dollars, and just dollars in general? Because you have people from even the region that want to dive and want to enjoy, these sites when they travel to other islands. So I think, we need to kind of take a couple pages out of the Cayman Islands book and really focus on our reef protection and how we can make sure that that stays. And maybe in the case of what Rosa was talking about with Dutch Caribbean Heritage Week, we have to quantify what is a functional, preserved, well-maintained heritage site worth in terms of l'argent. Um, because it's unfortunate, but it seems like if you don't put things in like capitalism terms, people just kind of let it fly over their head and they don't really bother with it. We were discussing the let me see. Oh, last week also it was a rough week because I was the only chairperson of parliament on the island. So I also had to greet the Dutch delegation of Tweede Kamer members that were here, so Dutch MPs that came to visit. We had representatives from D66, from VVD, PVV, NSC, and GroenLinks PVDA. Raoul White, my first time meeting him, really great guy. Really had a lot of fun with him. We had a discussion in the conference room. It was myself, MP Maingret representing the Up faction in place of his faction leader, and then MP Maingret representing the Null faction, and MP La Cruz representing the Up faction, both in place of their faction leaders. So obviously because MP Emmanuel was off island and MP Otley was, I don't know. So basically, we talked about climate change in particular as climate funds. So what is available? How can the Netherlands help us approach, and receive funding from the EU or the EC, the European Commission, on that level for climate resilience? Because I said, being climate ready is expensive. That's essentially what it boils down to. So we're going to need that assistance, and we're going to need that kind of leeway into getting access to those types of monies. We discussed climate change. We briefly discussed as well cybersecurity, which, from a skills perspective, we could use the help of the Netherlands and elsewhere in the kingdom. When you look at Curacao, they're very far ahead in terms of the discussion about, for example, artificial intelligence and how that can impact Curacao, how it can improve government, how it can also harm in certain areas. And that's something that Marvio has spoken a lot about publicly recently, even. And we talked about cybersecurity and how other um, infrastructure entities across the Caribbean, not just in St. Martin, have faced attempts at penetration and hacking, or attempts at a breach or so, and all of that basically made a part of our discussion. And I think lastly, we spoke a bit about the students, and how we can make it a little easier for them when they transition up. Of course, that's an ongoing discussion, I think, between us and the kingdom, and Aruba and Curacao as well, and Saba and Stacia. So definitely it was a good chat. I enjoyed it. It was my first time chairing one of these meetings in my capacity as second vice president of parliament. So it was kind of cool. Um, and then I'm just trying to go through the paper. Didn't get time to really good prep my notes because I was done with the protest, which again was very emotional even for me, because like I said, you see people and you don't know their story, and then you see them show up here, and you're like, oh, I see the story. And I saw some comments on Facebook of people saying that, oh, it's just a small group of persons that have no ties to St. Martin. And meanwhile, I'm looking at people that I was on Teen Times with, who went to St. Martin Academy. You're looking at people that maybe help me, like my shoe guy, my shoe and suit guy. When I need a shoe emergency style, he always helps me out. And that's the thing. Like, they may say, that you may think they're from one place, whether it be Lebanon, Jordan, etc. But a lot of times they're Palestinians that have run, guys. And I think that, to me, we can all understand that at the end of the day, everybody's human, and that any child dying as a result of air bombardment is not right at all. It does not really matter, much less 20,000, 30,000, 50,000, which is essentially where we're at. Um, but yes, what else? Yeah, it was my week was pretty much consumed with that. It was pretty much consumed with this thing about credentials, and just a question of where we've paralyzed parliament with travel, etc. Again, travel that was voted on by the persons complaining that we paralyzed parliament with it. And it was kind of annoying, because again, it reminded me that um the no good deed goes unpunished. And but I still do not like for people to pull me out of my character. So yeah, I'll never get on in this kind of fishwife manner. It's not something that I've ever been able to do comfortably. I think if I did it, people would be like, "You are it," like, "Are you all right?" And what was also pretty in our face last week, two things. In Aruba, they had a debate discussion on same-sex marriage, the legalization of same-sex marriage in Aruba. My good friend Miguel Mansour, definitely one of the bigger proponents of that law. I also have met and spent time with Desiree Cruz, who actually brought civil unions to Aruba. So also very pioneering person in that space. She brought civil unions to Aruba and was able to then enter into a civil union with her wife, who she married in the Netherlands. So yeah, so that debate went entirely as expected. I know that it was a little disappointing, but nevertheless, it will come back to be voted on again. I think it ended in a bit of a deadlock. Um, and I'm looking forward to hearing all about it when we see each other at IPCO. And then in Curacao, they had a bit of a deluge of rain. And it's happening more often, isn't it? Like last year, yeah, last year around this time, or a little earlier than the year, Curacao had issues with flooding even. And then the year prior, they also had issues with flooding. Every time it starts to rain, had my aunt update us because rain in Curacao is like good governance in St. Martin, and it's a wild time. It's just you never know. It just kind of pops up like Pokemon. And I think that it's just the cascade, isn't it, of what climate change is doing to the region and why I made it a point in that meeting with the Tweede Camera members to talk about how is the Netherlands going to help with climate resilience, because it can't just be you give us the things that need to be done. We know that, but again, it costs money. Renewable energy costs money. Public transportation, so we can stop importing all these cars, costs money. And I think that, when we admit that, we also can see then where we ourselves have to kind of fill the gap of that. And I know that sounds terrible to say that, I already pay my taxes. Yes. When I say fill the gap, I mean we have to first direct the monies to where they need to be going and then see where the gaps are. And the gaps may mean that something got to increase or something got to decrease, or something can shift from here to go elsewhere. So all of those things we definitely need to continue to look into as we have these conversations within the kingdom. So for the rest, I am planning to not necessarily pick up what I want to discuss. Is something that former MP Bryson had discussed when he was still in Parliament, and it has to do with the banking industry here. And it's not so much about the basic bank account or so, but it is something that I want to bring up at IPCO. I know that he had mentioned it one time. And it kind of fell off the radar. I don't know if his replacement faction leader is going to try to push it or not when we go up, but it's definitely something that I do want to mention, which is how can we take examples, I guess, from the Dutch central bank and what they've done, and try to kind of guide our central bank in pushing forward for the same. Not necessarily in the direction that he was going, so that cryptocurrency direction. I think with the arrest of Roger Ver for tax evasion, we're going to make a hard left on that and try to maybe find more viable, less shady ways to get it done, so that persons can begin to have that access that they need, but also to streamline and improve service, because I think that's really where it's failing. I've been hearing horror stories left and right about banking locally. It's my hope, anybody from Oracle Bank that is watching, that you guys make it so that First Caribbean machines can accept my cards and any Oracle cards, because we're still here in the dark. Every time I go into a store and I have to look at the sticker on the side to see, is it a First Caribbean? Yes, and I have to go get cash. And that's basically how it goes. So I definitely want to continue to have those discussions with the central bank, especially as they've started promoting the Caribbean Guilder. And I know that they're doing that to kind of put it in our brains of, it's coming, it's coming. And this is actually what happens in Holland. So when they were switching from the the stripper card on the trams to the OV chip card, it was like a 2-year communication campaign before they phased it out completely and then moved over to this OV card. So that I think is also important. And finally, let me see. Touching still a bit. This is what I wanted to find. Yes, sorry, on the climate change part of it. So we talk a lot about some, not me, but some people talk a lot about how if we continue to take steps to combat climate change, even though we're not the biggest, polluters and such, then what does that do for our money? So I read an article last week where Cuba has been signaling that it may have to begin importing sugar because their rum industry is suffering under a very disastrous harvest cycle. Um, and a lot of that has to do with the yield of your harvest, has to do with what is happening around you, basically. So importing sugar because you're not able to grow your sugar, or you're not able to retrieve or extract the yield of syrup and such to power your rum industry is concerning. And if you look at other countries in the region that have strong rum industries, not us, but a Barbados or like a Guyana. I can't imagine the day that would have to come where climate change has impacted Guyana to a point where they have to maybe say, bye, El Dorado, we know that. We don't know. I ain't sure, and I think when I hear about, oh, if we do this, that for climate change, if we plant more trees and we don't build condos, then we're not going to make money. But actually, if you keep building condos and you don't plant more trees and you keep overheating your island, because that's what we do locally, we overheat ourselves with cars, with pouring concrete, stressing our infrastructure, etc. If we don't plant some more trees, then that might actually hurt our bottom line more than those others would like you to think. And that's kind of what I wanted to kind of leave it on, because I know that that's going to be the topic of discussion. It's always been one, like, well, how do we protect um, our industry and our economy if we have to cut this and cut that, or fine the cruise ships maybe for dumping their waste illegally or so. Like, what if we have to fine and then they go somewhere else? Okay, I think we have to get to a point where we feel like we can demand that, and that's what I've always said about as well. In these public forums, online or so on social media, that the islands now have to start to talk to each other a bit better, whether you're in CARICOM or not, about how we can together uh, form one head when we face up against, especially the cruise industry, to kind of say, we don't appreciate the pollution of all our waters, because that is what it is. We can demarcate as much as we want. Ultimately, we all swim in the same salt. So that's kind of what I wanted to just touch on. And again, sorry for the late start. And I do urge everyone to still follow what the protesters did today. There was a live video. It was very peaceful. It was actually very emotional. So definitely check it back if you can. And I want to thank as well Rosa, if she's still watching, for joining me today to update you on Dutch Caribbean Heritage Week. Also something that I will be taking to IPCO, because we're getting a presentation from John Leerdam and Peggy Brandon, who are working on the National Slavery Museum in Amsterdam, but in collaboration with the islands, to make sure that we're all represented and that we're all part of the development process of the museum, and that we can even loan exhibits between each other, and also to see how we can work with them to help our own museum improve itself and get to a certain level. So definitely we'll update you guys on that. And like I said, I will be walking with my stuff. So I will do. I think there's like one opportunity to do a live stream. Maybe there's two. Just check the dates. Hold on. Yeah, there's definitely gonna be at least one live stream while I'm away. So, or what I might do, but then again, y'all gonna be snoozing, so you'll have to see it when you wake up. Is that after we finish up with IPCO, which is usually by 5:30 p.m. Amsterdam time. So you might either be out or whatever. I might do like a catch up live, just a review of the day, just to let you all know what the discussions were and how everything has gone so far. So definitely stay tuned for that. I'm gonna see how I can make it work with my team, and then we'll definitely let everyone know. And those dates are gonna be in June, of course, but for the future, like obviously next week we're gonna have a live. So yeah, thank you again for tuning in, and bon simang in advance. Have a good week and take it easy.